Hey, I want to ask you something that I want you to sit with completely honestly. Okay. How many times this week have you said yes to something and felt a quiet, sinking feeling the second the word left your mouth? How often do you find yourself managing other people's feelings before you even check in with your own? How much of your energy every single day goes toward making sure everyone around you is okay while quietly, privately, you're not? If any of that is landing, I want you to hear something important. That is not kindness. That is not just who you are. It's a pattern. And it has a name. And more importantly, it has a way through. So if this is you, you deserve to hear what we're talking about today because this is the Better You Show. Welcome back. It's me, Doris, the Chaos Calmer, and the Better You coaches. We have Sarah, our resident leadership and abundance coach, Tiffany, our hypnotherapist and mindset coach, Shelly, our registered therapeutic counselor, Joyce, the happiness igniter herself, and we also have a very special guest, Nicky Yazbek. I am genuinely excited for you to meet Nikki because what she brings to this conversation is something that I think is going to stay with you long after you stop watching. Nikki's a licensed clinical social worker with nearly 30 years of experience. Her work lives at the intersection of the mind, the body, and the patterns that we carry, often without even knowing that we're carrying them. She specializes in trauma-informed healing, people pleasing, self-abandonment, codependency, and what she calls emotional masking. She integrates an EMDR, somatic awareness, psychodynamic therapy, and insight-oriented talk therapy into her work, which is a very sophisticated way of saying she works with the whole person, not just the surface. Nikki, having you in this conversation today is such a gift. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, team. Are we ready to have a conversation for the woman who's exhausted from having to be everything for everyone?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Nikki, I'm going to come to you first because I think you're going to reframe people pleasing for everyone watching in a way that changes how they see themselves. Most of us think of it as a bad habit that we should just stop. But you work clinically with this pattern. Where does it actually come from? And why is just say no more not the answer to a woman who's been doing this her whole life?
Yeah. Thank you. I think we pick these patterns up really, really, really early in our childhood. There's this natural thing that parents do. We're like, oh, that's good. That's great. Good job. And as kids, we want to be acknowledged. We want to be recognized. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. And so when we get that feedback, we want to do more of that. We want to make people happy. We want to make people laugh. We want to impress people. We want them to think that we're great. And so I think it boils down to really early childhood. And that's why I think that we all have aspects of that in our being. And so I think of people pleasing, codependency, and masking as all kind of going in the same box, in the same category. And I feel that it is a really deep form of self abandonment. And I think that it's not until we're aware of it that we can work with it. And so when we show up in a certain way where we think other people want us to be a certain way, they want us to be happy all the time, they want us to be available, they want us to say yes all the time, when they expect that from us, and we're getting acknowledgement for that, then we want to do more of it. And then sometimes if we don't want to do it, like you said, we're saying yes and it doesn't feel in alignment with ourselves, then we're abandoning ourselves to please that other person. But what happens too is that that person doesn't know us to our essence and our full being. So, what if we were to step into ourselves, be really authentic, do what feels good in alignment with us, follow our nervous system, and let that be our guide and show up in the world that way. And so when people like us, they like that version of us, the true version of us, because when we're masking, when we're people pleasing, they are liking a version of us, and we don't actually know if they're liking us for who we are. And it's not until we break down these barriers and these masks that we can be seen for who we are, and we can be loved for exactly in who we are. So I think saying no sometimes is a beginning point of this. But it's really just tapping into your nervous system. What feels good to me? What feels in alignment? What do I truly want? When this person calls, do I get excited or do I think, oh my gosh, they're calling me. I don't want to answer the phone? Are we in a jobs that aren't in alignment? Are we hanging out with people, family members, where it doesn't feel good to our nervous system? Because when we do that, we're abandoning ourselves. So I think it's really like reconnecting to ourself.
Absolutely. I can totally see that. And the connection between people pleasing, authenticity, self-abandonment, and alignment. It's just a complete disconnect all the way around.
Something that happens with my clients a lot is if this comes up, they'll say, well, you know what? I don't know if I'm a people pleaser. I just like helping people. And what's wrong with putting other people first? And they kind of just really shut the whole
Hmm.
thing down. We feel that we're needed when we're pleasing others. And that kind of like how Coach Nicky just said, that it is a misalignment between our internal need, and then our outwardly expectations that we have. And when we always try to please, we're actually taking others rather than our internal, what is pleasing us, rather than how we are pleasing others. So um, this is the misalignment. I would say that if we are, when we think that yes, we're saying yes to others, that means saying no to us. We're not even asking that question. We're subconsciously just saying yes, yes, yes to everything that even we are feeling that from our core of our heart that it should be no. But we're so conditioned, we're saying to yes. But I would say take that pause, take that moment, and then just ask yourself, do you really want to say yes to this? Has it been aligned with your own self-respect or your own needs? And then you can say no. You start saying no. It takes a little bit of courage, but once you start saying that, you will see it would rewire your brain as well to think like that. So take a pause, learn to say no, and then go from there.
Hmm.
I agree with everything that's being presented so far, but there's more, isn't there? Because, from the very first time that we come into the world, our survival as babies depends on whether or not we are wanted and belong. Do we belong? Are we being accepted? Are we being cared for? And our brains are geared for survival. What our society is saying to us from the outside is there's a lot of expectations, not just what mom and dad say, but sisters and brothers, other children we meet, teachers, the community. That expectation, that you don't want to rock the boat, don't upset anyone, be accommodating, all of those things that we learn by seeing and often from the role models in our lives. Sometimes that survival gets kicked up because it's a trauma response, right? There's so many different ways. So listening to, that internal being, that nervous system that's signaling, hey, I'm not very comfortable here. Listening to that person within. And then, as Nicky was talking about, the masking, then the others don't know who we really are. So what works when we're little sometimes doesn't work when we become adults.
I can relate to everything that you were saying there as a child because that's the way I was, very similar to that. And it was like that right up until, I hit that 50 mark, that perimenopause, menopause side of things, and having that breakdown and realizing where I want to be and what I want to be doing was huge for me. And it just put me into a position where I was much happier person, much present. Again, you ladies have heard this before, but it's so important because yes, I like to please people, but I can say no to. I can please people if I want to. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's when I want to, not when I'm expected to. That was my key to learning to say no for sure.
Yeah, I agree with everything that everybody said. And I think what we're not talking about is codependency. And that's where all this is born, right? So when we talk about, and that's where those patterns are born, where we're people pleasing, and that's where we learn that we're responsible for other people's feelings. Like if my mom's upset, it's my job to fix it. Or if my friend's upset, it's my job to fix it. And if I say no and I make them upset, then it's my fault and it's my job to fix it. But by you standing in your own truth and your authenticity and being real with yourself, if it hurts somebody else, that is theirs. It's easy to say and it's a difficult concept to grasp. Codependency is really big, and I think we all have it on some level, at least with somebody in our life. But I think it's breaking that and just being aware of it, that we're not responsible for how other people feel. And so if I am asked to go to an event and I don't want to go because it's not in alignment with me, and maybe I don't like big crowds and being out, in massive auditoriums, then that's my truth, and it upsets or disappoints the other person. That's theirs. I can't take ownership for it. And so I think it's really, acknowledging the codependency piece in all of it too.
No, I love what everyone's been saying so far. And that's fantastic. Knowing where it's coming from and how it's all manifesting. I think the hardest thing is at this point, now you know it's hurting you. Now you know that this is not your truth. Now you know all these things. What's the first step to starting to transition into someone who is less or not codependent?
Mm. The first step of any healing is acknowledgement. So just the fact that you can see it or you start to see little glimpses of it, that's pulling something out of the shadow and into the light. And so once you can acknowledge that, yes, that's an issue that I have, then you can start to see how it plays out in your life. And then that's when you can start to work on it.
Yeah, I'd say just start with small baby steps, right? Like, what's one thing you can try to say no to that you normally say yes to? And then realize that, oh, I actually can do this and it's okay, right?
For anyone who's looking for permission, it's okay to change your mind. So even if because it's been an automatic response for 40 years, and you always say yes, once you really gone home and you've thought about it and you're like, I should have said no, it's okay for you to change your mind now and call that person up and say, hey, you know what? It's not going to work.
Mhm. And know that when you start setting boundaries and you start stepping into your authenticity, you are going to trigger other people. That's just the reality of it. And when you trigger those other people, it's like a test. It's like, are you going to go back to the old way of doing things or are you going to stand in your truth and your authenticity? But it's a guarantee that when you start doing that, that people are used to you being a certain way and you're not showing up that certain way. And it's definitely going to trigger those around you.
Yeah, and learning to live with that, and then that's
Absolutely.
okay, right? I think that's really hard. I think that's part of the fear, right? That we're going to lose
Yeah.
friends or lose family members, or they won't be able to accept us, in our new authenticity. But again, you got to come back to yourself and what's more important to you, right? And maybe you have to let some people go at least for a time, and then that opens up space for others to come in, right? That will not value.
And
you.
it is about priority. It's about what's most important to you and recognizing if you're going to be within your true north. How important is that to you?
And often we actually create that in our mind, in our head, that something worse going to happen. But is it really going to happen? So ask that question: that what are you fear of? Like, what might happen? What if it doesn't happen? Just take that step. Just say yes to your truth, and then say no to what is not aligned with you. And once you start doing that, you would see that, okay, the worst didn't really happen. So that's a start. And then you go to the next step, as Coach Tiffany said, step by step, baby steps. But that's how you actually you can start your expansion of your identity as well.
Yeah, it's so funny, Sarah, how we catastrophize everything. It's like we're expecting the absolute worst outcome when that's hardly ever the case, right?
Yeah, at workplace, we often see that like crucial conversation, how the leaders they want to lead the team, but then they have a hard time having those crucial conversations with the team members, colleagues, or with their upper management or bosses. But that comes from the same idea or inception that we have of people pleasing, and we hard to say no. It is difficult for us to stand up against what is not aligned. But once you start saying it and see what is aligned and what is actually the truth, and it's okay. People, as Nikki said, they're used to of you being in certain ways. When you're going to be someone different, or it's not for them, it's foreign. It's different. So that will trigger, and they will try to resist that too. But it is okay. It's what's the worst going to happen? We wouldn't know until we try it. So I would say try it, and you will see. Actually, we sometimes, most of the times, we see positive feedback. So you go ahead with it. Just have that courage, move forward with that, and then you will see the how it actually helps you.
Absolutely. And that can open up to a conversation as well, right? You can, see how people are responding and then just, kind of maybe have a discussion about it and, see what happens from there, right? What's the first step towards acknowledging that you're a people pleaser? Yeah, I think if any of this lands for you today, which I think it would land for most people, right? Then you are a people pleaser. Are you saying yes to things that you don't want to say yes to? Are you doing things that aren't in alignment? Are you agreeing to things that you don't want to do? Do you feel obligated to do things? Are you doing it out of guilt? What is the motivation behind what you're doing? And then also listening to your nervous system. What is your nervous system telling you? Is it regulated? Like when this person walks in the room or when they call, do I get excited? Does my whole body light up? Or when I spend time with this person and at the end of the time with them, am I completely drained and lacking energy and in a bad mood? Or every time I talk to this person, if they're really negative, does it bring me down? And so really listening to what are we needing? What are we needing to feel good? We all want to feel good. What do we need? And so it's just tapping into your truth and your nervous system. And it could be simple things like like you said, start with really, really small things. You don't have to do it all in one day. You can test it out over time. But I think there's something in what we all said that I'm sure will resonate for people. And then it's just recognizing those patterns in yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's the thing about real time. It has a way of landing exactly where it needs to. Whatever landed for you today, don't let it just sit there. If something in this conversation stirred something in you and you want to keep going, we'd love to be a part of that. So head over to BetterYou.coach and book your free, no obligation connection call with any of our coaches. No pressure, no pitch, just a real conversation. And I promise you'll walk away with more clarity than you. And for those who want to dive a little bit deeper with you, Nikki, what is the best place for them to?
I have a website. It's NickyYyoga.com. So it's 3 Ys, NICKYYYOGA.com. That's where you can find me, therapy, yoga services. And then also I have a podcast called the Connected Community Podcast, Exploring Possibility on YouTube and all the audio platforms.
Awesome. And the links will be in the description for sure. So thank you all for being here today. Truly, always remember, you matter. So please take care. We'll see you next time. Oh, hey, thanks for watching. Since you watched this video, we thought you might really like this video. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe right there for more great videos. Plus, tap that notification bell so that you don't miss any videos at all. Comment your thoughts below and see you next time.